For nearly 300 years, House Targaryen ruled over the 7 kingdoms of Westeros, until Robert Baratheon rebelled against Mad King Aerys II in 282 AC, all but securing victory when he defeated and killed the Crown Prince Rhaegar Targaryen in the Battle of the Trident. A politically cautious man, Lord Quellon Greyjoy of the Iron Islands stayed neutral for much of the war, but after the Trident was convinced to join the rebels by his sons, who were eager for a chance to partake in the spoils of victory. Unwilling to leave the Iron Islands vulnerable to attack by the Westerlands, who had not yet chosen a side in the war, the old and sickly Lord Quellon Greyjoy led a fleet of 50 longships to attack the Reach, and died in the battle at the Mander against the men of the Shield Islands. Having accomplished little in the war, the deceased lord's eldest living son and heir, Balon Greyjoy, led the fleet home to claim the Seastone chair. Throughout his life, Quellon Greyjoy had been a strong proponent of reform, abandoning the old ways of the Ironborn to attempt the elimination of thraldom, whereby they held captives as indentured servants, forbid reaving unless under his orders. He invited maesters to the islands, and discouraged secondary salt wives, instead encouraging marriages with mainlanders to strengthen their ties to the 7 kingdoms. Yet his son, Balon, did not agree with these decisions, and upon assuming power, immediately began to reverse these reforms, returning their people to the old ways of reaving, thraldom, and salt wives. An ambitious man who saw opportunity in the fall of the Targaryens, Balon Greyjoy underestimated the newly crowned Robert Baratheon, believing him a usurper that did not truly command the loyalty of the realm, and would not be able to raise a significant army or fleet to put down a large-scale rebellion. Further, Balon believed the Ironborn's skill at sea was unmatched, and Robert could not best him in naval combat. Therefore, the Lord of the Iron Islands spent the next 5 years raising armies and constructing a fleet of massive warships, more like galleys than longships, with reinforced hulls, iron rams, and decks bristling with scorpions and spitfires. Preparing ships larger than any the Ironborn had built before, Balon Greyjoy declared himself king of the Iron Islands in 289 AC, beginning his reign and rebellion by sending his brothers Euron and Victarion to burn the Lannister fleet, declaring, "The sea shall be my moat, and woe to any man who dares to cross it." King Balon next targeted the Riverlands, sending his eldest son Roderick to attack Seaguard, only to face his first defeat as the Lord of Seaguard, Jason Mallister, killed Roderick and threw back their forces. Beyond even this defeat, Balon had grievously miscalculated the larger war, as Robert Baratheon commanded far more loyalty than he anticipated, immediately preparing royal forces to crush the rebellion. First, Robert sent the royal fleet under the command of his brother and master of ships Stannis Baratheon to sail westward, where he was joined by ships from the Arbor, Old Town, and the Reach. A great warrior and strategist in his own right, Stannis Baratheon lured the enemy commander Victarion Greyjoy to sail the Iron Fleet into the Straits of Fair Isle, where he sprung his trap, attacking from both the north and south to destroy the enemy and score a great victory for the Iron Throne. During the battle, Balon's youngest brother, Aeron Greyjoy, was thought lost at sea when his vessel, the Golden Storm, was sunk by Fury, the ship of Stannis Baratheon, but he eventually washed ashore and was brought in chains to the Lannisters, who held him prisoner for the rest of the war. Next, King Robert Baratheon invaded the Iron Islands alongside the armies of his friend, Eddard Stark, serving as Warden of the North, and Tywin Lannister serving as Warden of the West. In addition to their attacks against Harlaw and Orkmont, it was Stannis Baratheon who secured victory on Great Wick, while the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, Sir Barristan Selmy, defeated Old Wick. Finally, Robert himself, alongside Lord Eddard Stark, led the attack on Pyke, destroying Botley Castle and the town of Lordsport before laying siege to the main castle of Pyke where the Greyjoys had retreated. Though the Ironborn fought as best they could, Robert's forces won a resounding victory and thoroughly crushed the Greyjoy Rebellion. Among the many stories that emerged from this final battle, they say Thoros of Myr was first through the breach, wielding a flaming sword coated in wildfire. Both Jorah Mormont of Bear Island and Jacqueline Bywater of the Crown Lands also fought bravely and distinguished themselves before the king, who bestowed knighthood upon them. Yet not all were happy stories, as once again Balon lost his eldest child when Balon Greyjoy was crushed beneath the South Tower as it collapsed from enemy attack. Defeated and captured, Balon Greyjoy was brought before King Robert in chains, yet still he remained proud and defiant, saying, "You may take my head, but you cannot name me a traitor. No Greyjoy ever swore an oath to a Baratheon." An amiable and merciful man, Robert laughed and replied, "Swear one now, or lose that stubborn head of yours." Thus, Balon Greyjoy bent the knee and swore an oath of fealty to the king, allowing him to remain Lord of the Iron Islands. Yet in order to deter future rebellions, Balon's last living son, Theon Greyjoy, was taken as hostage and sent to live with Eddard Stark in Winterfell. To celebrate his victory, Robert called for a tourney at Lannisport, while Balon mourned his dead sons and rebuilt his forces, biding his time until once again seeking a crown during the War of the Five Kings fought after Robert's death in 299 AC. A special thanks to all those who contribute to CivilizationEx, like Kristen Greeneyes of the Company of the Cat, Sir Loin, Werebear of the Great North, Daedry Dragon's Wit, and Kyle Blitzsword. If you'd like to help the channel, be sure to give a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and click on the links below, or else go to patreon.com/CivilizationEx, where you can gain early access to videos and watch the Patreon-only series, Heroes of Lore and Legend.